من يضمن لي ما بين لحييه وما بين رجليه أضمن له الجنة. Whoever guarantees for me what's between his two jawbones and what's between his two thigh bones, then I guarantee paradise for him. The virtues, the benefits of marriage. Marriage has a number of benefits related to lineage, morality, women's welfare, social welfare in general, and many other issues. So I'll mention to you a summary of some of the most obvious benefits of marriage, as mentioned by Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, in the book Al-Mulakhas al-Fiqhi. The pages there are cited for you for your review. Baqa' al-Nasl al-Bashari. Number one, the human race continuing. Without marriage, the human race does not continue. Without marriage and procreation and building families, the human race doesn't continue. وَتَكْثِيرُ عَدَدِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Secondly, building the numbers of the Muslims, increasing the numbers of the Muslims. Thirdly, إِعْفَافُ الْفُرُوجِ وَإِحْصَانُهَا وَصِيَانَتُهَا. That is, keeping people chaste, protecting the private parts, and keeping them chaste and modest, used only in that which is permissible, wholesome, and beneficial for the people. Keeping them clean, keeping them proper. Fourthly, the establishment of the women's rights, that women are taken care of. The men establish themselves financially, get married, and take care of the women. Fifthly, حصول السكن والأنس بين الزوجين. The tranquility of the household and the good relationship that is between a husband and wife, of cooperation and love and mercy and all of that, that builds the Islamic household. The husband and wife and their good living with each other. That's 5, right? 6, himaya, the protection, للمجتمعات, the protection of the societies from what happens when marriage is no longer important to them and they fornicate. And what happens to the societies? A number of things. Diseases, foul behavior, corruption of the soul and the hearts, the people losing their ghira, their sense of honor for themselves and their family members, the character just being shredded and falling apart, the character of a person, the fabric of his soul just really falling apart. For the protection of the society and all of the people in it. Marriage is something that is involved in that. The protection of people's lineage from the basic human rights that people have, that have been safeguarded by all prophets and all messengers throughout history, is that a man has a right to know his lineage accurately and not to be lied to and not to be told it doesn't matter where you come from. A man has like an inner yearning to know where his roots come from, to know the people of his grandfather's grandfathers and so on. Who did he come from? Where do his roots go back to? It's part of who you are. And you have a right to know that. Look at today's system of adoption where they let a child be adopted by someone and they totally hide the child's identity. And they tell the people to just adopt him as if he is from your family, give him your last name, and he becomes basically from your family. Sometimes they tell him when he becomes an adult, and sometimes they never tell him. There are people who have been adopted and were never told. And they really genuinely believe that their mother and their father are their real biological mother and father. They've been, basically, a human right has been taken from them. The right to know who their mother and father are. Subhanallah. So then marriage brings the people together in a way that preserves their lineage. With fornication and adultery becoming widespread, then the people generally don't know who the father is. We've seen that inner city problem where the women say, or someone says this woman is pregnant and she doesn't know who the father is. She's been fornicating so much. It's one of 3 men, or it's one of this number of men. That's how far people can go into that lifestyle when marriage is no longer a concern. Then she doesn't even know who the biological father, then let alone what about the religious aspect of that? The fornicating man, does he even get credit as the father anyway, even if she knew who he was? No, وَلِلْعَاهِرْ الْهَجَرْ. The fornicating man gets a stone. He doesn't get any ascription to the child. And so on. All kinds of problems with lineage come up. And that relates to, and that has implications as it relates to keeping family ties, honoring one's elders, being dutiful to one's uncles and grandfather and so on. You can't do any of that when you have no idea who your lineage is, who your ancestors are, or who your father is, your grandfather, and so on. And then lastly, we'll mention الترفع ببني الإنسان عن الحياة البهيمية. That people rise up and they actually, through marriage, through the refined character of a man who's chaste and modest, he's a family man, then he becomes a better person. He becomes a refined individual. He doesn't resemble the animal. Animals are what? They smell the scent of a woman or female, and they go chase the female. That's what the animal does, because the animal doesn't think about consequences, not morally, physically, or religiously. The animal just smells something and goes after it. Now look, what's happened to the young men in societies where fornication and adultery becomes prevalent? When they say, I see that, look at that woman over there. She looks like she needs a good time. And he starts beginning to plan, how do I get her? Like the animal who smells the scent of a female and just drops what it's doing and goes right for that female. Are we not refined? Are we not people who think about consequences of what we do, unlike animals? Or are we just like animals now? When the people have abandoned marriage and good moral behavior, they become like animals. We witnessed the strangest of things where people now use the behavior of animals as proof for where we should be going. Morally, I mean. Have you not heard the argument of the homosexuals? They talk about the animal kingdom. What do they say? 10% of the animal kingdom is homosexual. Studies have shown that homosexuality is... So you're talking about dogs and cattle, and this is our guidance? This is our morality? We're bringing you the message of prophets, revelation from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to refine your soul. And your response is, we'd prefer the guidance of dogs and cows. We'd prefer to pattern our behavior after dogs. And look, so there's a society that actually doesn't only know that it's behaving like animals, but they're now making that the yardstick for morality. That since animals do that, why are we being so different? Why are we pretending that homosexuality is not natural? Why are we condemning people for chasing their freedoms? And they use all of this language. Wallahu al-musta'an.